am your host, Taryn, and today I am joined by my buddies, Donovan.
Hello.
And William.
Hey.
I'm using full names today, so buckle up.
You could hear me that time, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little, I will say your hey was still delayed that time, but we got it in there, so.
All right.
It's an improvement. One step forward.
Two steps back.
No, can we? No. Today we are talking about Pokemon vs. Digimon. The most important of the debates.
Yeah.
Now, I know both of you are quite passionate about this topic.
Huge fucking nerds, yes.
That's what I said. Is that not what I said?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was basically what you said. It was broad strokes.
Right. Well, we're here to basically determine, I mean, I think we all know the real answer to this question before we even get into it, but this is more of just for sake of discussion, kind of talking about the history of some of these things. These were, we're all 90s kids here, so both of these things were huge to us growing up. We got the first generation Pokemon and, first generation Digimon. It was the true war of the mons. So first things first.
The Mon War.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could call it that. I was going to mention that Pokemon is technically the first one to get to the jump. So not only are they arguably the more, they're definitively the more popular one. Let's face the facts.
Yes, yeah.
But they also were first. February of '96, Pokemon Red and Green. That is the first time we saw Pokemon.
In Japan. Yep.
Digimon wasn't until '97, and it was a virtual pet. Original.
Yes, kind of like the Tamagotchi.
Which is funny because I actually used to have one of the Digimon. Like, it was basically a step counter. That's literally all it was. You're supposed to put it on your hip, and then it would count your steps, and then after a certain amount of time, you would get an evolution, right?
I always wanted one of those.
So, lest you think the toy companies didn't have schemes to try and get kids to exercise, even back then, they gave us step counters that had a mini game on it.
Well, you know what happened? My fucking jerk-off hand got real strong because I did not walk anywhere. I stood there with it like a shake weight and just shook it up and down as fast as I possibly could to get 1,000 steps.
Fun fact is, actually, Digimon did that one first. They had a virtual pet on a physical peripheral that used a pedometer.
Well, that's how it was released. That was how Digimon came out.
Pokemon didn't do that until Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, when they released the Pokewalker, which was an infrared little Pokeball that you could put a Pokemon on, attached to your hip.
I remember that thing.
It would level up.
I actually remember that too.
Yeah.
Didn't you have that?
Donovan, you're reaching way down and deep into the barrel.
I knew Donovan was perfect person to be talking about at the very least Pokemon. I don't know. I know he's played at least a couple of the Digimon stuff. I don't know how deep his Digimon knowledge goes.
Definitely not as deep as Pokemon.
Right.
Well, here's the thing. I was actually definitely always bigger into Digimon than Pokemon. So.
Hey, well, and here's the thing. I kind of, it was kind of funny. I kind of sit in the middle because I like them both, really. I don't feel like there has to be one too, instead of the other, but I would. There's things about Digimon that I much prefer to over Pokemon, so you know. But we'll get into that.
That's what I agree with there. Yeah.
Well, I guess that kind of broke down. You know, you get where we're all coming from. You got. I'm assuming, Donovan, you're probably pro Pokemon over Digimon.
I'll advocate for the Pokemon because that's where my well of knowledge truly lies. Right, I love them both.
Right. I think all of us here like both.
Pieces of art,
just to be clear, we all like both. But
I'll make arguments as to like why later. But yeah, I'm more on the Pokemon side of like I know a lot more about Pokemon and lore.
Right, it's
and,
I don't think for me it's not necessarily about determining which one's best. If it's determining which one I like more, which one I have a preference towards, like as a nostalgia factor, it's definitely Digimon.
Oh yeah. Well, because Digimon also didn't have it's still a thing, but it's not nearly, it's more of like a, niche thing rather than like in your face. So I feel like
it didn't have a widespread community.
Right. Definitely. Like there's not nearly as many people that know like current Digimon and stuff that as opposed to know all the Pokemon and stuff.
Right.
Although I couldn't fucking tell you any of either of them, probably.
I could get quite a few Pokemon, but
this isn't a test about
I think Donovan
how many Pokemon you can name. We'll be here for another hour, just him sitting here trying to remember.
I literally just played through Pearl, so I have the entire like Sinnoh Dex memorized right now. So.
All right, but if we do that, then I'm gonna demand you do it in the form of a Poke Rap.
God.
All right, we're not doing that.
You keep you better.
Hey, here's
gotta catch 'em all, Pokemon.
If this reaches, let's go for an easy let's do like maybe 100 likes. That seems we don't have much of a we don't have much of a viewership.
50.
It's a like goal. 50.
Well, because that's
you gonna do 50?
Well, 50 is even more than I would put it lower personally, but I feel like you won't do it if I put it lower.
No, it's gotta. If they absolutely.
It's gotta be a goal. It's gotta be a goal. Yeah.
They have to work it. And let's say within a month of posting, if it gets 50 likes within a month of posting, we'll write a Poke Rap, and with the Sinnoh.
Dude, I'll make a beat. I can make beats. I'll make a Poke beat.
And I will refuse to be involved at all.
Oh, you wish. You wish. I already have hours of your voice recorded, buddy. Even if you choose to refuse, I'll just randomly, you'll just be in there saying like fucking Pokemon's names.
I just imagine him walking up to me and he's like, "Here's a mic. Can you just name some Pokemon for me?" Why? Just do it. Oh. Pikachu, Charmander.
Keep going.
Ho-Oh, Lugia, Mewtwo, Mew, Krabby.
I love how he's like.
Oh wait, you're recording us right now.
He's like hitting pretty much everything that is not on the Sinnoh-based decks, pretty much. Like, he's hit national decks, but not Sinnoh. Smart.
Stone
Smart cookie.
Jorner, the best. Stone Jorner, the
Get
best
out of
Pokemon.
here. Get out of
Stone
here.
Jorner?
All right, we're we're digressing. That's the like goal, though. Hit it, like, sub,
50
share,
likes, and
fun
we'll do a
stuff.
Poke Rap. I'll make a beat. You'll see it on the street. Word to your mother.
Okay.
So moving on, we're gonna get to a little bit of the nitty gritty, right? Who's got the more powerful being? Pokemon or Digimon? What do you guys think? Just like before, like just based on what you know now, what do you think?
You know that it's truthfully a hard one.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with
However,
Digimon.
no, it's hands down Pokemon. Hands down. You have Pokemon like Arceus, who is the creator of the universe, and
It is
Mew, the very first Pokemon.
Just so you know, it is pronounced Arceus.
Okay, if
by wiki definition, it is how it says it's pronounced. Because I remember you referring to this Pokemon when I looked it up, and I remember you pronouncing it like that, and I was like, that's not how I remember it being pronounced.
That is okay.
That's how I've
Arceus,
always known it pronounced. But
Arceus or
Arceus is how.
Arceus?
Yeah.
I mean, it says
Arceus is how I remember it being pronounced.
I mean, maybe the wiki's wrong, but it does say. It says Arceus.
I just assumed it was Arceus because he was kind of like the Arc, this whole like Arc of the Covenant.
Well, it's still Arc.
You put plates on him. Yeah.
It's just AS instead of ES.
In the third season of Digimon, though, they have that thing that just deletes everything it touches. It's like literally deleted. In
Japanese, it's Aruseus.
Okay, season 3. That's the one with Guillemon, Renamon, Terriermon.
Yeah. Now, I get your argument that these are gods, but do we really see them doing anything powerful in Pokemon? I mean, they can be crammed into a ball by a 10-year-old child.
Well, let's delve into this, since I'm glad you guys you're both kind of on the other side. So let's jump on over to Article Alley.
Article Alley.
Yeah, we gonna pull up the old article. Arceus or Arceus, what? Just say it however you want. Honestly, I don't care. Now this is one of, I believe I read earlier, like 19 mythical Pokemon that exists, which is technically like a step above the legendary status.
Those are your Celebes, Mew, Jirachi.
Something that makes Arceus really original is that he is technically, or it is technically the head of two separate trios, because it's the master of the Creation Trio and the Lake Guardians. Now, in Pokemon lore, he's basically like given the the feat of creating the world, basically, and the universe. So, I mean, we're talking like God level being here. It said that it hatched from an egg and it created the world using its 1,000 arms.
Big truth. There's actually a movie based on
It's
with
genderless.
Arceus, and
Yeah,
he does some crazy stuff. Plus, there's the new game that's about to come out, Legends Arceus, that is going to be hopefully good. I'm not
I
going to
guess
say much on that.
I mean lore-wise, if you're talking about it's a god, sure, but in the game you can cram it into a ball and a 10-year-old can fight with it.
So,
Right.
ooh,
Which makes
so
it
so
the
we're
most like fearful 10-year-old ever.
well. I mean, Will. I think Will has a point here. I didn't really think about it from that aspect, but he's taking the approach of like not just what the lore is, like how are they defined through their actual games and actions and stuff. So like,
Yeah.
I mean, he's right in that aspect that
'Cause
technically you
in
can
multiple
just catch this Pokemon as a 10-year-old kid and it's supposed to be a god.
Yeah, and in multiple Digimon games, there are Digimon that you can never get access to, and are at the very least threats to the world, if not all of reality, all of existence.
I do understand where you're coming from on this. The big issue I see with it is some of the strongest Digimon. You have this whole, oh yeah, it's a threat to the world. The whole, you said third season, like world eating darkness thing.
Yeah.
It was defeated by strong Digimon, but they were only able to become strong like that because of 10-year-olds.
Okay, but those so the question was which has the most powerful beings? So if that's a limit on both of them, my point still stands. If they're both
Well,
limited to the strength of 10-year-olds.
well, and you also got to keep in mind that in most of the games, you actually could not get this Pokemon unless you got it from an event
Yep.
That's
or a
true.
trade. The only games that you could actually get the Pokemon in were Diamond and Pearl and Platinum, and it required the Azure Flute. Now, I don't know much about the Azure Flute. Do either of you?
It's an event-only item. I believe it was.
Let me look it up.
There's a couple of
It is
events
one of
that they
4
run
event
with.
exclusive key items meant to be received through a Nintendo event in the Sinnoh based games. So that means in every single game, the only way you can get this Pokemon is through like a special event. Meaning that this Pokemon doesn't even exist within the base files of the game. Or maybe that's not true, but you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't exist just within the base game.
I'd
You can't get
also
it under normal means, but
Right.
I'd also like to make an argument on the actual capture mechanics of Pokemon.
okay.
And that is, Pokemon of that nature, of that level, generally aren't being, captured. They choose to be in the ball. They choose. And I know in game, there's the strategy. The best way to catch a, legendary mythical Pokemon is paralyze it, put it to sleep, bring it down to 1 HP and stuff like that.
Well, so another point then. If it's a god, how can it even be paralyzed or put to sleep by another Pokemon in the first place?
Because it is still a Pokemon.
Okay,
I mean,
so
I would argue
we're
that
limiting it to the power of a Pokemon.
Right. Well, I would kind of argue that sort of argues in favor of Will's point that they are limited by the fact that they are a Pokemon. So it does have the power to, but I mean, it does have the power to create and control time. So it's kind of a weird. I see Will's argument, what he's making, but I do think that lore-wise, they mean for this Pokemon to be a god level being. At least that's the intent.
Right, and there's always gonna be some, you see it in Digimon games too, some disconnect between lore and mechanics.
Right.
I get that. I'm just saying that I'm trying to make the best argument I can for Digimon.
Look, man.
Feel it.
And it's hard when, it's hard when Pokemon has, like, if you take Arceus and if you take the Diamond and Pearl legendaries off the board, I would say hands down Digimon win because most of the legendaries and even mythic Pokemon are just thought of as gods, right? Because they're that powerful by people. Like, you look at the legend and lore around them, it's not so much that they actually are gods, it's just that they're powerful enough that ancient people treated them like gods in the Pokemon lore. Donovan can correct me if I'm wrong. But in the lore itself, Palkia and Dialga and Arceus are actually gods.
Yes. Yes, generally,
which is why it's the dumbest thing mechanically speaking. This is the disconnect that always bothered me, that you can cram them into Pokeballs.
So Jirachi grants wishes, Cresselia affects dreams. They do have extreme power over not just
right. But what level of wish are we talking about with Jirachi?
According to the movies and some of the lore,
does this speak
deep.
to the weakness of the Pokemon or to the power of the Pokeball?
Yeah, true.
Probably most definitely the power of the Pokeball, because even catching it, I mean, people go, "Oh yeah, I caught it in a Pokeball." A lot of times it's easier in an Ultra Ball. There's the Master Ball, which you only get one of.
Digimon has beings that can be defeated but cannot be contained. Right? Like, you can defeat them, you can destroy them, but you can't contain them. They'll break out of their containment. It's like the plot line of several of the finals of Digimon season is that there's basically, because the digital world is an actual other reality, and when it starts to cross over with our reality, it begins destroying both of them. And there are Digimon that can control that shift in reality. So I would argue that's
to get into
the power of a god.
That. Well, let's I'll jump over to the Digimon. And first, we're gonna go with what I would argue is what is technically the most powerful Digimon, which is Gaiamon. It's actually never been achieved, though.
Yeah.
within the Digiverse.
I guess we can't cut.
So it's
I guess
not
it's
an
theoretical,
actual, yeah,
even
it's a
in the digital
theoretical,
world. Yeah.
right? It's not a. But I mean, several Digimon, including Galacticmon and Quartzmon, have tried to do this, which is
Achieve that state.
Yeah, whereas basically all of the Digimon become one.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it would just be this being that's, I would think that is the being that could take on Arceus.
Yes.
Most
From
likely
the
just in
Digimon
terms of
world.
Lore, yeah.
yeah.
But if you want to get into technical Digimon that exist, then the next strongest one, it would
Lucy
be
or Apocalypse.
Zed Millenniummon. He is the big bad Digi Boogeyman hiding at the end of Digimon Fusion. He basically passes freely between all worlds across space and time, and basically legends say that if his binds are released, that it will result in an unfathomable destruction upon the digital world. He's like a big two-headed dragon guy. Yeah.
Well, so if he
but
can
his
freely
particular devastating power is that he has a move called Time Destroyer, where he can banish opponents to a phantom zone between space and time.
So that would make him, I would say, I think we can both agree with this, that would make him at least as powerful as Palkia and Dialga, or just space
Right.
and or time.
Right.
So
see, in
Right.
Arceus kind of he controls even more than that. But this is almost a little different, I would say, because his move is specifically called Time Destroyer, and it's a void-like space between, or a void phantom zone between space and time. So I would argue, potentially, if he was able to use this move on Arceus, that Arceus, even being able to control space and time, wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Because he couldn't, because it's in a space that doesn't exist within space and time.
this is you're getting almost to the level of a case of unstoppable force meets immovable object.
Right.
Like what happens,
Yeah.
right? Like what happens when they meet, right? Like if it's really an unstoppable force and it's really an immovable object, what's going to happen there? That's a fair argument. I hadn't considered his time destroyer move. I actually didn't watch Fusion.
Me
I've seen
either.
up through Data Squad of.
But I did read this article about
Digimon.
what the most powerful Digimon are.
I've seen through Fusion. I don't remember Fusion all that well because it was kind of like, not your best work. Sorry.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Data Squad and Onward kind of, I've heard, gets. Well, they had that new one that's a reboot of the original season that I've heard is actually pretty good. But there were a few seasons in the middle there that people say were really weak, so.
I don't think I'm completely caught up on the new one, but yeah, they did a reboot, renamed Tai to Tai Chi, and fucking it's set in 2020.
Huh. I'll have to go watch that. I've been planning to, I just haven't had the time. Anyway.
One thing I think we can pretty much get out of the way is that Pokemon just has better names for their monsters.
It does.
They're not as on the fucking nose. I mean, obviously, at this point, there's so many Pokemon, some of their names are ridiculous, but it's better than... Right. But it's better than, fucking just being so
Yeah,
on the
Digimon,
nose
you'll have
about
like
it.
you'll have like a
Guy with a
bear-shaped
sword,
Digimon.
mon. Like,
Yeah, it'll be like,
oh, okay.
Swordsman Mon.
That was
Swordsman Mon.
that was one of the big thing that always bugged me about Digimon was the naming scheme of their Mon. They always had to have Mon at the end of it, and it's like
Yeah, I can
mean,
agree with that.
It
It's a small
differentiated
thing,
it
but
from Pokemon. I think that was a big part of what they were trying to do, was give it more of an identity. But
I think it's a cop out.
yeah.
well, I'm not saying it was successful. I just think that was the reasoning for it.
Well, you look at first season Digimon, it really wasn't so bad. Agumon, Tentomon, there wasn't. They did a pretty good job for the most part. Or I mean, yes, you'll always get like the Angemon or the Devimon, but they did a fair job. It wasn't as on the nose.
Right.
Uh,
Well,
but yeah, definitely as you go, it gets.
on a separate note from that, though, I would say that Digimon are way cooler looking 90% of the time.
I will give
I
them
would
that.
agree with that.
It's you look at the difference between them, right? Like Digimon are sentient. They're able to communicate with humans. They speak English
That's true. They don't
most of the time.
That is one thing that always annoyed me about Pokemon.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of irritating that Pikachu goes Pika 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 Pika
At least
Pikachu.
in the anime, before Pikachu like blew up, even in the games.
Although I guess it's better than
He
him running
didn't
up and being
say
like, "Hey, yo,
Pika.
Ash, what up, bitch?"
I don't think it was even until Yellow that he started saying Pika in the games. Like I'm fairly certain the original games he had a cry. I don't even know that it was Yellow. It might have been like third, fourth generation that he started saying Pika Pika in the games.
Well, isn't that's the other thing? Isn't Pika like that? Isn't that their onomatopoeia for like the sound of like electrical sparks in Japan too? I might be wrong about that, but
Probably, I don't know. Yeah, sounds good. That seems like a pretty good reason.
I don't know.
yeah,
Some bigger Pokemon fan than I out there might be able to tell us down in the comments. But So yeah. So, and I like the cries. They actually did something interesting, and again with Gen 4 in the Diamond, Pearl, Platinum games, they added a Pokemon called Chatot. And so for the DS, you had a microphone, and it would learn a move called Chatter, and you could actually record you saying something, and it would play that as the move. Like it'd be all distorted and stuff, but yeah.
Pika Pika means bright, sparkling, shining, or glistening. It's like their sound for that. Like if you're trying to write, like it's shining, it's bright, it's sparkly. Pika Pika means that. So I know it was something like that.
It's still annoying.
So it's clever on that level, but it is
here's the
very
thing: Pikachu ain't the only one that does it. It's every Pokemon except for like the super godly level ones, and Mewtwo for some reason. I mean, Mewtwo's godly. I'm not saying he's not, but he was like genetically modified, and and then he just was like, "I know English, bitch."
Wait, he didn't. He grew up in a test tube around people speaking with technically Japanese, but yeah,
right.
Like
my favorite is like
every other Pokemon never grew up around humans.
Well, and it's even worse than that because if you look at if you look at some Pokedex entries, like Alakazam has the ability to communicate with its mind and has an IQ of like some
5,000.
ridiculous number.
to
And like you can't speak English?
to be fair, when I was looking up like the most powerful Pokemon, Alakazam was actually like surprisingly high up on that list. He's considered really fucking powerful by the fact that he can literally communicate with your mind and like, I mean, he's basically like a mind flayer, dude.
No, but I just always, when you read that and you're like, so he can't learn how to speak English? He has to go Alakazam, Alakazam. Like, what the shit, man?
Maybe he just, that's all his tongue allows for. It's the only sounds he can make.
It's like a duck's vocal cords, right? It really can't do much but quack.
Yeah, that's just how it comes out for him.
But he can speak with telepathy, and do we ever see it in the show? I don't know. I know Alakazam's probably appeared in the show.
I know that he can communicate telepathically with people.
If not like directly, then indirectly by like hypnotizing someone to like say what he wants and stuff like that. Because I know there are other Pokemon who have done something similar. They'll like take over a human host to speak for them.
Yeah.
So, kind of moving on to, I mean, we've kind of talked about the anime, what's the most powerful, but there's multiple facets to this, and one of those facets is the card game. I don't know how much you guys were into either of the card games, so if you played them or if you collected them.
I played a little of both. I played a little bit of both, yeah.
Now, I will go on the record and say that Pokemon is one of the worst card games I've ever played. Mechanically, it's garbage. It's a terrible card game.
Yeah.
If you're looking to get into a card game for it to be fun, don't play Pokemon. It's not fun. If you want cards that are going to be valuable, I mean, yeah, there's really valuable Pokemon cards, but it's not a fun game mechanically. Digimon? Did you guys ever play Digimon?
I did play a little bit of the Digimon card game.
I did not.
So I thought Digimon was a little bit better than Pokemon. Now, we're all card game buffs, so
yeah,
like, we all played Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic the Gathering and all that. So yeah. I'm fully of the mindset that Magic the Gathering is still the best card game of all time. I mean, I don't think any of the other card games even come close. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, it's got some depth to it, but I don't think any of the other ones come close to the amount of depth that Magic has.
Yeah. I can agree with that.
I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh's come a long, long way since.
It has. I mean, and I've kept up with it somewhat, but just based on how the game is played and the way the mechanics are set up for the game, there is only so much mechanically you can do based on the rule set of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like the way trap cards are set up and stuff, there's only so much counterplay in a trap situation as opposed to just having instants and sorcery spells and type of tap effects and things like that. Like, but this isn't about Yu-Gi-Oh! Versus Magic.
It's like, what? Did we switch topics? It was I spaced out for a second. What?
No, this is about Pokemon versus Digimon. So if we're just coming down to those two, I think Digimon was the better card game.
I would agree with that. I think if I were to boil it down, because the Digimon card game isn't great either.
Right. That's kind of what I was getting at. Is like Oh,
Is it?
I wouldn't go play Pokemon or Digimon right now.
I don't remember all the rules of either of them because it's frankly been years since I've played either
Yeah,
of
it's
them.
been a minute since I
But
played.
but but my problem with Pokemon is basically there wasn't a lot of strategy you could do. It was basically like you build a deck and it was just luck or not whether you got the strategy you had built into the deck out or not. There wasn't a lot of, like strategizing in Pokemon. There was a little bit more of it in Digimon,
Yeah.
but not that much more in Digimon,
Well,
if I recall.
there was a level of strategy, and you learn this through playing. I didn't learn it through actually playing the card game though. I played the trading card game video game, which
I had that
mechanically
too, yeah.
worked just like the actual card game. 6 prizes, your Pokemon slots, all the trainers and stuff like that. So there was a level of strategizing with like build to get specific Pokemon, rare candies, the trainer cards, the items, and all of that. There was a level of strategy. It wasn't balanced was a big issue because you'd have your big strong pokey cards like your Charizards, or someone had this like entire like team of just eradicate and just
Well, I
went
think
through and was
one of
like
the big things, the biggest differences for me is um, like Pokemon is one of the few card games that I ever played that I can remember that the main majority of people that I knew that collected it purely because they liked the way the cards looked. And like purely for the sake of saying I have a holographic Charizard, not to put it into a deck and play with it. Like that's the difference. Like most people that collect Magic cards, I mean, yeah, there's going to be collectors out there that are collecting crazy cards, but I mean, majority of the reason why people get Magic cards is to make their deck better.
Yeah.
That's why they bought the card. It's not just because it's super shiny whatever card.
Well, and if you look at the way the reward system is set up in the Pokemon card game, that's clear too with the prizes, right? Because if I remember the idea, you didn't have to play this idea, but the idea was because a lot of these trading card games have this sort of rule that nobody does, where you're supposed to put up a card as ante, and then if you win,
that was a whole thing in Magic for years. I actually have a Magic card that has an ante effect where you play the card and you can either give me your ante or you forfeit the game. It's like something like that, or you have to add to it was something along those lines where you had to like give me some of your cards or you lose basically.
Yeah. And
I was like, what a bullshit card. I was like, wow. I was like, what an asshole thing to do if you're playing that way.
Was the card called Extortion?
It was called like, I want to say it was called like Dark Bargain or something like that.
But yeah, but that's if you and Digimon. I just remember the main problem with Digimon was it was a bit, and this could be a problem with Magic, but Digimon was a bit too slow for the system it had in place. Because I remember the goal of the Digimon card game was you basically wanted to get your Digimon all the way from rookie to master or ultimate level, depending on which translation of Digimon levels you're using. And that could take a while. And all the time your opponent's trying to interfere with you, and there was some combative aspects of the card.
I found that fucking card I was talking about. Hold on. Show you. It is called Demonic Attorney. If opponent doesn't concede the game immediately, each player must ante an additional card from the top of his or her library. Remove this card from your deck before playing if you are not playing for ante.
Lol.
Yeah, I have that card. I was like, I read that shit. I was like, okay, so you have to either we have to both put up more cards, or you have to just give me your cards that you already put up. I was like, that's so you basically do that when you know you're about to win anyways. You do that the turn you're about to win, and you go, all right, look, motherfucker, you can either give me your cards you got or give me more cards. Fuck.
I'm not gonna allow you to go down fighting with dignity. you're,
Right.
you're either gonna give me the card you owe me, or you're gonna give me more.
Right. Well, that just reminded me of a match I had last night of First Class Trouble with Peyton, where at the end he figured out that I was the personoid, and he said, "You're not gonna take me out," and because the oxygen was about to run out, he ran through the fire. And I said, "Fuck that." I said, "You're gonna suffocate, damn it." And I ran up and I put him out with the extinguisher. And so he couldn't burn to death, and so instead he choked to death. He's like, I was like, ha!
Yeah. So, I think Digimon wins the card game. That's true.
I think Digimon does win the card game. So, I found a video.
Here we go.
Y'all want to see it?
Yeah. Did
No.
it kill the
You wanna-
radio?
But you're gonna show it to us
You want
anyway.
to give me your little diddly?
What? What?
Clip of the day. Clip of the day. It's
No.
the clip of the day.
No.
Thank you.
Yep.
Glad he remembered. Ooh.
At least one of us is glad he remembered.
Alright. Let me share this to you boys. Y'all can see it?
Yeah.
It's just a little funny video for you.
Okay.
I wanna be the very best that no one gives a about. Chill out, bro. Do you know how iconic our theme song is? No, but I know how annoying it is. You sound bitter. Is it because you're pretty much non-existent? Non-existent? Well, you kind of have a point, but let's talk about your storyline. Okay, what about it? Our storyline has depth. It's not some basic storyline like yours. Wait. How's it basic? Y'all spend years trying to collect pocket monsters and stuff them in a ball the size of a dog's kneecap. And you know what? Now that I think about it, that's low-key animal cruelty. All right, fine. But let's talk about y'all's playing cards. Nah, we ain't gotta do that. Or let's talk about the fact that y'all got canceled in 2000. I'm convinced that nobody remembers you. Hello, is this animal control? Here we go. Hey, guys. Who is that? Who, me? Oh, I'm Bakugan. Oh, it's the move that lets you see people's chakra flow. Yeah, Neji and Hinata's bloodline from Naruto. No. That's Byakugan. I'm Bakugan. Oh, the dude from My Hero. Deku's friend / rival? No. That's Bakugo. I'm Bakugan. Never heard of him. Not even a little bit. What? At least I lasted longer than Digimon.
Except Digimon's still around.
Yeah, but is it?
Where's Bakugan,
I'm surprised-
surprisingly?
Digimon's one of those
surprised
things
you-
that you don't find it unless you look for it, though.
That's true. I'm surprised he didn't get Yokai Watch in there, man.
Oh, goodness.
Talk about
Well,
Pokemon clones.
That's like super niche.
I've seen the toys for it, but that's about all I know about it. We used to sell some of those toys over it.
I know it came out with
GameStop.
the game, and everybody was like, "It's like Pokemon, right?"
So it's Pokemon? Here,
It's
I got
Pokemon.
one other for you guys too.
I wanna be
Oh,
the
I
very
lied. That's not the one. What happened?
Well, now my feelings
It's
are
okay. That video was
absolutely
enjoyable. We can watch it again.
All right, we'll just watch this one again. No, wait. No, but I, pretty sure. But
Is it
What?
the one from the Discord?
No,
well, I
no.
know there was yours, but all right, whatever. We'll just watch Donovan's video.
You don't have to.
Whatever, dude. It's already ruined. The whole show's ruined. We'll just watch your shitty fucking video.
Oh man.
Just kidding.
Sorry to whoever's video we're about to.
I'm just kidding. It's just kidding.
Oh,
All right. So you said 5 minutes in.
Yeah, right around yeah.
You want to give us a little?
You
So he gives a kind of synopsis of like you know, 90s stuff, Tamagotchi, all this leading up to this point. And then he gets into like the meaty stuff of it.
Me.
Oh no, like go a second later.
Yeah, we don't want to watch. Is that Fist of the North Star?
I'm not probably
Looks like this guy's exploding.
it's past the signs about right there 504 505. So he kind of gets into kind of what we were talking about, like, you know, or
I just want to
The
catch
other
what he
clip
says. That's
was-
the only reason I'm putting it.
the other clip was talking about was, you know, they aren't even really, you know, Digimon it has more adult, darker themes, where, I mean, Pokemon gets dark at some points, but it's very light and childlike and such. So it, like, they don't equate very well. Plus, you look at the dynamics of like their evolutions, how Digimon can go up and then down and then up again,
Well,
whereas
that's
Pokemon
sort of a
just
good.
go
I mean,
up.
I sort of remember when Digimon came out. I remember feeling like Pokemon was for like younger kids than me, and like I remember feeling like
I agree
Digimon
with
was
that. Yeah.
like a little bit more mature. Like
Yeah.
I
like
watched
with
both the shows, but I
storylines
was
being a
never
little bit more-
excited for like.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
never talking about the shows. Yeah, I wholeheartedly think Digimon was the better show for sure. I mean,
I would skip entire episodes like Saturday morning cartoons. Kids who are not from the '90s don't really get Saturday morning cartoons, but Saturday morning cartoons, like, I would watch the Pokemon show, but I wouldn't really pay attention unless it was like a gym episode.
I mean, to be fair, there was a
was,
lot
like,
of good stuff
very-
on like WB Kids
true.
and all that stuff back then. Like, so it was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not even gonna get into
fighting
Yu-Gi-Oh! As we
futons.
established.
No!
No! God, I finally got that song out of my head after 10 years.
Jackie,
Frank
Jackie Chan
your thing?
Magic must defeat
And-
magic.
Ultimate Muscle show.
Oh, jeez.
I just remember
Talk
I just
about
remember both of
Japanese
those coming up.
weirdness.
That was a weird. I never really liked that show. Anyways, let's see what this video is talking about.
back then, a lot of people thought Digimon was just a stupid ripoff of Pokemon because of the name, and because the shows were focused around kids with pets that spit fire and crap and evolved into other pets that breathed more fire. Another reason for the confusion was due to the fact that Pokemon had already had a serious foothold in the worldwide market by the time the Digimon anime came out, which was literally at the peak of the Pokemon craze. At the time, fans of Pokemon were so diehard that they weren't about to let some other pretender Mons show come in and take away from their Poke lifestyle. No way, dog! But I wasn't one of those kids. I watched the crap out of Digimon. I never played the games, but I was a huge
always
fan
felt-
of the show for the first 3 seasons.
I don't want to talk over him, but I always felt like everybody I knew who was into both always like thought Digimon was a little bit better, at least at the time. Like when they were both at their peak, I think more people that I knew thought Digimon was better than Pokemon.
I would
Yeah.
agree with that.
At least if you were into both.
The show.
Right,
The
right.
show,
That's
at least I
that's
thought
what it
was
was. Well, I
The
mean, that was what
show,
drove
at
a lot of
least.
people's opinions at the time. I would think was
Yeah.
was the show, because I mean, and the fact that the art was cooler on the cards, because like we said, nobody was really playing Pokemon or Digimon for the card game. People were collecting the cards because the cards looked cool, or because they liked the way they looked. They didn't give a shit that, and it was the same for Digimon. I think more people collected the cards because they wanted them to look the way they looked, not because they actually, wanted to play Digimon.
Reasons or so, but we'll get into that in a bit. Either way, I liked both quite a lot for very different reasons. First, the Pokemon games are amazing and were one of my earliest true gaming experiences. Also, the fact that it was so popular at the time meant making friends was easy. Everyone loved Pokemon, so almost everyone had common ground.
I like the Beedrill. It flies around, it has like a poison stinger, and it pokes people with spears.
But if we're being real, the Pokemon anime,
True.
well, it's formulaic to the
True.
max. Many of the episodes are totally
He has
pointless or
identified the
feature
core of
Pokemon that's been
Beedrill.
featured a million times.
Yeah.
There's very little story, and
that's
some would say
true.
there's
Every
really none
Pokemon-
at all.
Yeah.
The Pokemon anime is
Pokemon anime episodes are shot like Dora the Explorer episodes. At a certain interval, the exact same thing is going to happen. Oh no! Swiper, no swiping! Team Rocket's blasting off again! I mean, it's
No, Team Rocket built a pit trap. They're in the pit trap.
right. It's very predictable, even as a kid, what's gonna happen
Oh,
next.
yeah.
we met a new Pokemon. That Pokemon's having a problem. That Pokemon solved its problem.
Yeah.
The end.
Right. I mean,
Team Rocket's not up to something. Everyone thinks they are.
it did do a better job of being episodic, though, right? Like, you could just
Yeah.
tune into any episode of Pokemon.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what was going on before it, because it's Pokemon. Whereas,
I mean,
like,
even its more serialized plots, you could still, like, if you missed a gym battle, you just like, oh, I know Ash won it because he's on the next one.
right. Well, I felt like even then, like, most of the story plots were like in the movies
Yeah.
of Pokemon, like more than
Yeah.
the show ever. Like, they got way deeper in story plots with the movie. As I remember, when the first Pokemon movie came out, that was the first time that I was like, damn, when that was actually good. When I watched Pokemon, that was the first time where they like actually got like emotionally invested in the show and like really, I mean, not the first time, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it was just very like, I felt like they really made
It's
a
the
show,
first-
a compelling show.
It's the first time I ever cried watching Pokemon.
Yeah, I remember feeling sad when there was some other scene with Pikachu early on in the anime, and I remember feeling sad about it, but definitely
Episode 1 when he fucking zaps all the Spearow around him and he's all
oh yeah,
hurt,
there's
like,
that.
and he's
Yeah,
like, "Ah."
there's that one. That one's pretty.
The Butterfree episode.
Isn't that what we're looking at right here?
Oh yeah, that one touched me.
Isn't that literally what this shot is from?
Yeah, because this is when he's seeing Ho-Oh
Yeah,
for
it's
the
literally
first time
from-
ever.
literally that episode right there.
Many of the episodes are
first
totally
anime.
pointless or feature a Pokemon that's been featured a million
Oh,
times.
yep, and the
There's very
Jigglypuff.
little story, and some would say there's really none at all. The Pokemon anime is snack
Yep,
time.
right there.
Each episode
Yep.
is basically a standalone piece, like SpongeBob or something.
Literally
Sure, Pokemon was
forever.
addicting as hell, but Digimon had a story. Honestly, if it was a simple anime debate, Digimon would win hands down. It's just got more layers. And besides the Mon titles and the fact that you have little monster pets that evolve, there are a few other similarities between the franchises. For those of you who don't know, the first Digimon series followed 7 kids who got sucked out of their summer camp and into the digital world, which is essentially a materialization of the internet mixed with that island Tom Hanks ended up on in Castaway. But instead of a volleyball, the kids got Digimon, which are little monsters that inhabit the world. The kids are known as Digidested, and they and their digital friends have to fight evil to save the real and digital world. Unlike Pokemon, each kid gets 1 Digimon. And that's it. Some of them lucked out more than others. Also, instead of evolving permanently at a certain experience level like Pokemon, Digimon Digivolve. It's different, okay? They also Digivolve to Digivice from simply being upset.
Hey, that side one, that was my shake weight one.
However, after the need for their form passes, they revert
That
to their base
one's
form. Also,
Gen 2,
Digimon
I
are
believe.
mostly intelligent creatures that actually speak language instead of just repeating their name over and over and
One eternity later.
over and over again like a yellow electric Hodor. What makes Pokemon Pokemon are the themes behind it. Not necessarily the fact that there's little animals that have special powers. Pokemon is about living in a world with humans and Pokemon side by side. The game focuses primarily on catching them, training them, trading them, and battling them to win cash or gym battles or to defeat the Elite Four. But there's also breeding, research, travel, and adventure. It's just a part of life in the Pokemon world. Not only that, but you have options. There's Pokemon types. Team building is important, and then what you do with them is up to you. Digimon is literally nothing like that. Only the Digidested, at least in the first couple series, have Digimon, which only exist for the most part in the digital world. The digital world is a completely different place than the real world, although they are connected. The reason the Digidested have Digimon is simply to protect the balance between the two worlds. There's no collecting, there's no trading, there's no mastering, there's no being the best there ever was. It's simply a mission: save the world from evil. Where Pokemon created a universe, Digimon created a story. Or
Yeah, that's true.
Go ahead, Will.
Oh no, go ahead.
I had asked a buddy of mine at work, and we were speaking of Alakazam earlier. He's got a big old Alakazam tattoo and everything, and he said it pretty. He said Digimon feels older. We made that point, even though it's not as old as Pokemon. However, I'd also like to say it's almost like this guy's trying to say is it's almost like comparing, maybe not necessarily apples to oranges, but like you're looking at 2 completely different types of apples here.
Well,
It's
like to me it's almost like trying to compare say like I'm trying to think of a good example, but the first one that comes to mind is like something like, I don't know, trying to compare like Harry Potter to like Lord of the Rings or something like that, where it's like, they're both fantasy-esque, I guess, but it's like they're not like, well, I don't know, that's not really good comparison.
I would say a better comparison might be, it's like comparing the Hobbit book to the Lord of the Rings book. Because if you read both of books, if you read both of those, yes, they're written by Tolkien.
So I was trying
but
to
the
say
Hobbit
like,
is a
it's
lot
more
different
like,
than the Lord of the Rings.
right, but I was trying to say is more like in terms of like writing, right? The way Tolkien writes, there is way more depth to the way that he writes a story than the way that
Harry Potter.
Why can't I? Yeah, Jesus Christ, why can't I think of her name? We were just talking about her the other day. J.K. Rowling, yeah.
Yeah.
She, I mean, it's clear that her books are written for, a less mature audience, right? It's not like when you read a Lord of the Rings book, that's what I kind of mean is there's depth to it. There's more depth to it, and I feel like that's the same here. Is that it seems like Pokemon, they didn't really try to not gear it towards kids, right? They didn't really try to adult it up, really, at any point, unless they have recently. I think they've just
Not-
pretty much decided that they're going to maintain being appealing to kids, and if other people like it, then they like it. Whereas Digimon, I feel like, tried to cater more to a little bit more mature audience.
Well, I think that Pokemon was actually designed for broad appeal. Yes, primarily for kids, but it was designed to be palatable to everyone.
Well, if you design it for kids, then it is a broad stroke that appeals to everyone, right? Because if it's appropriate for a kid, then it's appropriate for anybody else.
The actual inspiration and creation of Pokemon, the creator actually, he's somewhere on the spectrum, I believe, is his own testament, and it's based on his hobby as a child of bug collecting. And that's purely what it is, and I think that's kind of where they draw their inspiration from even today, is this child's fascination with collecting all these different types and species of bugs and watching the, metamorphosis and stuff like that.
Well, I think that you could argue
in
that
Japan, they'll
marketing
actually
is
fight them.
well, and that marketing is what made their card game so popular, because they're I mean, because nobody cares about the fucking mechanics of the card game. They just want to collect all the Pokemon because that's the way it's been marketed
why
to
they
them.
divided it into 2 games at the beginning too. Is that you can't collect all of them without both games, and that
was a really smart way to sell 2 games and make this one game.
It was a smart. You make twice as much money, right? I think the point is that in some sense it's fun to, but in some sense it's really dumb to compare them, I guess.
Yes and no, yeah.
Maybe a better way to put it is it's really dumb to hate one because you like the other, is probably a better way to put that. Like, it's really dumb to say Digimon sucks because Pokemon is good. Like, that doesn't logically follow.
Well, yeah, I mean, we all kind of said we like both from the beginning, but yeah, I don't know. I think Pokemon is I don't have an issue with Pokemon. I never Well, it's marketed towards kids, right? I grew up. That's where my issue with Pokemon comes from. Is I don't have an issue with it necessarily. I just grew out of it. I got older. I don't feel like there's much really to the story that pulls me in. The games were fairly rinse, wash, repeat for a long fucking time. And I had kind of felt like I'd played that before. I feel the same way about Call of Duty. I don't buy Call of Duty every year either.
Yeah. Well, and I was about to bring up, if you look at the Digimon games versus the Pokemon games, it's actually a similar sort of thing where Pokemon found its formula and basically stuck with that formula, other than a few gimmicks here or there as it went forward.
Right.
And Digimon,
yeah, I was gonna say that too. Is that
basically took the formula and then crammed it into a JRPG, basically. Like, they took parts of the Pokemon formula for their games and then crammed it into a JRPG formula.
Well, yeah,
so there's an actual story.
Well, for some of them,
Digimon
but
games.
I was gonna say that beyond that, it's that they're way more experimental with their games. Like, there are quite a few Digimon games that don't play anything like each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's I guess what I'm saying. Like what you were saying too, is that, Pokemon fell into a formula and they were like, this works, just keep doing it, pretty much.
Yeah. We're still selling games, keep doing it, and maybe add a gimmick in there every once in a while so we can claim that.
Right. Well, they just would release more. The whole thing was they would just release new Pokemon and maybe some new moves or a new Pokemon type here and there.
And you look at the original games of each, Pokemon was groundbreaking. Digimon World, the very first Digimon World released on PlayStation, was it was a like action RPG adventure, and you were like actively walking around with the Digimon following you, who would actively get into like battles with other Digimon walking around the field. Whereas Pokemon, you didn't encounter other Pokemon unless you were in specific, tall grass or fighting a trainer. And then they got weird with the Digimon games for a while.
Well, and kind of like what
and they
he was saying too was that, Digimon is more of a story in the sense that, like, in most Digimon scenarios, you're trying to save the world.
Yeah.
In the case of Pokemon, the story is, I want to catch all the Pokemon. Like
and maybe defeat the Elite Four. Yeah.
Right. It's really not the same at all. It's not even close. Like, one is like a noble superhero. Like, the Digimon characters are more like heroes. Ash is just a hero, like, by accident, because he just happens to be where the legendary Pokemon shit is going on, and I'm sure somewhere in his mind he's like, I'm gonna catch this motherfucker at the end of this.
And then he doesn't.
I've got a Master Ball in my hat just for you, Mewtwo.
Well, I'm not even sure Ash is human. He's immortal. I mean, he's 10. He's been 10 for like.
He's like 13 now, I think.
Is he? Did they finally make him older?
I know they made him older. They technically made him older because he had an in-show canon birthday. However,
because I just remember I saw the beginning of one of the Pokemon seasons.
The only birthday Ash Ketchum ever had in 20 years.
Which generation did they introduce? I was watching the first episode of one of the generations one time. I forget which one it was. I want to say like it was like either Diamond and Pearl or the one just after that, like Black and White. And it starts with meet Ash, a 10-year-old, and I'm like, he's still 10?
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, he's been 10 for a while. I'm pretty sure that was Black and White.
I remember like, one of the shows starting like that and being like, there ain't no way he's 10. What was he, 5 when he started the journey?
I think they've done that with a couple of generations, truthfully, where they go, this is Ash, 10 years old.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And you're like,
they want you
like,
to know.
It wouldn't be so bad if you didn't draw attention to the fact that you're still treating him as though he's 10.
Well,
like if you just said, this is Ash Ketchum, it's
right. If they just didn't say anything about it.
How long has Bart Simpson been fucking, like 12?
Okay, but so that's even less comparing apples to oranges. That's comparing a comedy show that's designed that way,
right,
to a show that is at least...
until you can tell me why Stewie is still a baby.
Because although Pokemon is episodic in nature mostly, it at least has the pretension of a serialized plot. He's going on a Pokemon journey, time is passing. Comedy shows don't have the passage of time in them typically, other than what's immediately important to them.
So there's actually a really cool fan theory on why Ash is still 10, and it has to do with the scene that we were talking about in that video.
It's coma, yeah. You're talking about the coma theory.
Well, there's the coma theory. There's also the his like
Does lightning bolt give him superpowers theory?
No, his deepest subconscious wish, like deep down, was granted by Ho-Oh, and that was like.
See, the real answer is that when Ash was brought back to life after being killed by Mewtwo, he was granted immortality by Pokemon.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever said that? Because I want to go on the record as being the first one to say that if no one's ever said that.
I don't know if anyone has, but
That's actually a pretty good theory. That's actually a pretty good theory. I like that the Pokemon granted him immortality.
I mean, it makes it. They brought him back to life. He was fucking stone.
Yeah, it's true.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That's why he's 10 forever. It's because the Pokemon tears brought him back to life and froze him at that
Then
age forever.
why does nobody ever mention the fact of this immortal 10-year-old boy?
Because it's a condition, Will. Do you fucking point out other people's conditions when you see it?
I would if they were immortal.
Alright, well. Not all of us are as rude as you. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I'd kind of do the same.
But would you assume he's immortal, or would you just assume, man, he's got really good genes? Because it hasn't been so long.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like, you'd be like, oh, maybe he's got that, like, Andy Milonakis disease where he just looks like a kid all the time, like, forever. He's like Frankie Muniz or something, you know what I mean? He just looks like he's, like, 13 forever.
See, I would maybe consider it, but then I'd be like, nah, he's immortal. Why are you immortal?
I just told you, Pokemon tears.
Pokemon tears. That's the answer to immortality, folks. If you want to be immortal, you just have to collect Pokemon tears.
Yeah, you have to get enough Pokemon to cry for you simultaneously.
And it has to be legitimate tears. None of this caused by, like physical pain stuff. We don't advocate animal abuse in a show where we force animals to fight one another.
True.
Yeah, but they're happy to fight one another. They've shown in the show that if Pikachu doesn't want to fight, he doesn't fight. And if other Pokemon can return to their balls themselves, they don't have to stay out. They can just zoop.
I mean, but that's like saying, like, my dog that I train to fight doesn't have to fight. He's just choosing to fight when I let him out of the cage. Like, yeah, you train him like a wild animal.
Point Terran. There's a very key difference.
So we're getting around towards the end of the show. Theme song. Who wins?
Pokemon.
I think Pokemon wins. I mean, come on, Digimon. You were lucky enough that you hit that 90s mark, so you had a catchy theme song all the same. But you didn't hit that iconic 90s song where, like, Pokemon has like a full, like, theatrical version that's like 10 minutes longer than the normal song of just
Pokemon
17 paragraphs of lyrics after the song that you remember.
You could go on to like you could go into like a public place, and any 90s kid, if you started like singing or humming the Pokemon song, they'd be like, I want to be
right. They know
they
the whole
knew
song.
it, right? Like everybody knew it.
It's a pretty.
I mean, the Digimon
song.
one's pretty good, but
it's not Pokemon level good though. It's Pokemon.
It is not.
Takes the cake for. So.
Yeah.
In consensus, so we got overall Pokemon, Digimon. Pokemon, when it's coming to the card game, or over Pokemon or Digimon, I think we gave that to Digimon.
We did.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the video games, I think that I actually like some of the Digimon games, but I would argue that I have technically spent more time playing Pokemon games.
I have to give it to Pokemon. I've played every single Pokemon and quite a lot of Digimon, and they're both good in their own right, but as far as like not having to relearn mechanics each time I play through and just
that's sort of the thing with
Digimon
with the experimental stuff of it.
I have a strong preference. Right. I have a strong preference for Digimon, But if we're talking just any objective measure, you would have to give the game to Pokemon.
Well, that's what I mean. Like Digimon is more because they experiment a little bit more. It's more hit and miss, right? Like there'll be a Pokemon game that's really good, and you'd be like, "Oh man, that was a really good game," and then the next one, like they'll have like 3 that are kind of, not very good.
Yeah.
So, and just to elaborate on that, Pokemon had 122 games, and Digimon has 57. So Pokemon has almost double.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Any
Double,
objective
double.
measure, you have to give it to Pokemon.
Yeah. So Pokemon, anime, I think we gave to Digimon.
Digimon.
Definitely Digimon.
Theme song we gave to Pokemon. Art style we gave to Digimon. Most powerful. Was that? Were we giving that a tie, or are we saying? Because I'm inclined to lean towards Pokemon a little bit.
I will concede the argument to Pokemon just because it's hard to beat. We created the actual creator god as a
Right. I mean, it's
like
really
it's hard to beat that. Okay, like I will give that one to Pokemon.
And which is the most popular? I think Pokemon wins on that aspect. That brings our tally out to 4 Pokemon, 3 Digimon. Pokemon winning out through popularity.
I shouldn't have conceded that point. Dang it.
But, I mean, I think that sort of represents a little bit of like why Digimon was so loved, right? It was that, I mean, you can kind of see the contrast of like there was things that Digimon did better than Pokemon, and that was why it did well, was because it was hitting pockets and niches that Pokemon wasn't.
And it always felt like a bit of the underdog when you like, not saying that it actually was in all aspects, but it always felt like the underdog when the debate came
also,
up.
if we had to add in another point, I would give it to Pokemon for who has like the more valuable like collectability.
Oh,
like I mean, the most valuable Pokemon card is like sold for like $300 something thousand, whereas the most valuable Digimon card is like 30,000. Which, I mean, it's still a lot of money. If you have a $30,000 Digimon card, I mean, that's a lot of money.
I'm surprised it's that high. When you said 30, I was like, oh man, the value of Digimon cards is way lower. I thought you meant 30.
No, well, I mean, it's still, though, that's a 10 times difference in value between the most, and we're talking the most valuable. So we're talking, you have to have specifically like Generation 1, this event exclusive Digimon card type of, like, so.
Pokemon's made way more money than Digimon generally.
So, as we sort of knew at the start, we sort of finish on that note of Pokemon being the victor. My heart sinks. I was rooting for Digimon, but I sort of knew in my soul that Pokemon would win. They're just, it's so big. So, I mean, they're not going anywhere anytime soon, so.
Digimon put up a good fight, but.
Right. Yeah. Congratulations, Donovan. You and your Pokemon victory.
Dope. I'm gonna go win 300 levels on the battle tower before going to work.
Now do the Pokemon victory music.
Dun, 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 dun. I wanna be the very best.
Wait, which generation victory music?
The one you know best.
Nope. I don't listen to the music really.
I just immediately want to.
You don't.
The only one I think of immediately is Final Fantasy ending music.
Yeah, whenever I hear the term victory music, I always start humming to myself. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na.
Yeah, that's literally what I think of every time.
Yeah, I don't really listen to the music on Pokemon. If I'm like grinding Pokemon, I'm generally watching like
He plays
something
it on
YouTube
mute. He said, "Pikachu, shut the hell up."
I am, you know, unless they want to start voice acting Pokemon games, yeah. I can read.
Pika.
No,
Not like that.
no.
They wouldn't even have to do that. All they would have to do is take recordings from the TV show and use them for their game.
That's true. Well,
I'd die a little inside.
all right, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this venture. Not sure what we're going to be talking about next week just yet, so stay tuned for that. And we hope to see you next week. See ya.
I